Good evening, folks, and welcome to another episode of Backmarker Battles, entry list storylines. It's great to be back with you guys on a Thursday night this time, not with the usual ARCA Racing podcast like we were last night, but rather to talk about some backmarker battles for this weekend, what to expect out of these backmarkers. We'll give our DNQ picks, of course, and see maybe which types of backmarkers will have the advantage going into these weekend's races at Homestead. I thank you guys for joining me tonight. I don't usually do these very often, and it's kind of fun to talk some backmarker stuff. I feel like, the backmarkers need a bit of a bigger platform, and it's fun to be able to talk about them on here. So I'll do my quick little intro, and then, of course, we'll just get right into it. So, of course, you guys know the drill. Follow me on social media at Start and Park Car on Twitter. Like and subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 1,000 subs. We'll be announcing our giveaway at the end of the show, so stick around for that. Follow theracingexperts.com for all ARCA NASCAR content. And give my good friends NASCAR Man and Brockbeard a follow as well on Twitter, as they are good friends of myself and the show. So let's get right into it, shall we? Homestead Miami Speedway, without a doubt, one of my all-time favorite tracks on the current schedule. I strongly believe this track never should have left the finale date. Still very much saddened by that. But yeah, so I don't know how you guys feel about that. I prefer Homestead a lot over a lot of other tracks. Hello to everyone in the chat. Glad you all could be here. Hopefully we get some more people in as we get going. But, of course, we will start off with the Truck Series festivities. Now, of course, the Truck Series, Homestead, great to see them back at Homestead as always. 37 trucks. 37 trucks are on the entry list. A very basic entry list. The only real surprise entries, Timmy Hill and Hill Motorsports running with Tyler in the 5 again. Kind of a shocking entry. Didn't expect to see Tyler running this race, but Tyler has majority run a lot of the bigger tracks and a lot of 1.5 milers, the 2 Kansas races, so maybe it's not all that shocking. I believe he did run this race in 2019 in the Hair Club truck. The 20 this week will be driven by Stefan Parsons. The 20 team has had a rough go this season, having to find paid drivers. They want to keep running 3 full-time teams, but I feel like maybe if Young's would I feel like the one thing that's really hurting Young's Motorsports personally, in my opinion, is, I think Young's has decent equipment, but I think what's really hurting Young's Motorsports is just the 02 doesn't have a full-time driver. They're splitting that between 2. With all due respect to Spencer Boyd, I just have not seen really any speed out of him at all in the last couple seasons for Young's. And the 20 truck just has too many drivers. I feel like they just can't get into a groove. And I feel like that's severely hurting the organization. And if they could just maybe go down to 2 trucks and run with 2 primary drivers that are of stature, like a Stefan Parsons. If Stefan ran full-time in one of the Young's trucks, I fully believe that organization could grow. But running with all these different kinds of drivers and not being able to develop a crew chief driver rhythm, I feel like is really what hurt Young's Motorsports. And I felt like at the beginning of the season, we'll talk about it in the second, I felt like that hurt Alpha Prime Racing as well. Luckily, Alpha Prime, I feel like they've really gotten into a good flow, and we'll get to that more in the Xfinity portion. But yeah, Young's Motorsports, I feel like, should really stick to 2 trucks, maybe a 3rd part-time truck. I'm not saying they have to strictly run 2 trucks, but I think it would benefit the organization to stick to 2 full-time trucks and try their best to find 1 primary driver. And I feel like the results for that team would be a lot better, because I really feel like all 3 trucks this season have run very, very dismal. Because looking at the owner points following Talladega, the highest Young's Motorsports truck is actually 19th, because, Kaz Grall and Jesse Little have actually done a pretty decent job. But at the same time, if you had either Kaz or Jesse in that truck full time, I feel like they would do a lot better. Whereas the 20 truck is down in 29th and the 12 truck is down in 30th. Moving on with the Truck Series entry list, some other notable entries. We got Max Gutierrez in the 22. Of course, AM Racing announcing that they will be going more Xfinity racing next year, along with an ARCA team. So I don't know if they will be back in the Truck Series. Good to see Max back. He hasn't been around for quite a few races. I don't know if his last race, I believe, was Nashville. But good qualifier, and I'll be interested to see definitely how he is this weekend. Obviously, with the 22 skipping a race, they are not eligible for the end of season bonus, no matter how good they do in the owner points as well. That's kind of taking a note. We'll get to that in a second. Caden Honeycutt is back in the 30 for On Point Motorsports. Brett Holmes has entered in his 32 truck again with Huff Daddy Shane Huffman as the crew chief. Love Shane Huffman. Nick Leitz, I hope I pronounced his name correctly, will be in the 33 for Josh Rayom. And Mason Maggio will be in the 43 for Rayom. Chad Chastain is back in the 44 again. Corey Heim is back in the 51. Of course, the 75 team running the rest of the season. And G2G will have Brennan Poole behind the wheel. And the 84 team, I would say the most surprising entry out of all of this, Clay Greenfield and the 84 team, the Bruce Cook Racing Technology team, showing up as well. So definitely an interesting entry list. Only one DNQ to note. Only one truck will miss the race. Looking at, how we've seen qualifying going, the 84 Greenfield has not made, I think Talladega is the only race they made. And that was just based off of pure speed in the truck. This track would really come down to how good Clay could drive. And right now, the 84 truck is the lowest in points. And looking at the points in general, I think Clay can get it in there. And I would say the same about Tyler. Tyler, he qualified very good. He's qualified for all the races, I believe, this season, except for Richmond. And even at Richmond, he missed that by one truck. So Tyler's a good qualifier. He can probably get that truck in the show. It just matters. Homestead's a really hard track to nail perfectly. You nail one side of the track perfect, you got to nail the other side perfect. With that pressure on you to qualify, it's definitely going to be make or break laps for those teams. Obviously, though, for the 84, it's either you're quick enough to make the race on time or you go home. That's pretty much what it is for the 84. As for the 5, again, they do have the cushion over the 84 to fall back on if Tyler is unable to crack the top 31. The other trucks and owner points who, if the 84 and the 5 both make it in, the next truck would be on the bubble would be the 46. Now, I know we have all of our complaints about G2G racing, and of course, they made a fool out of themselves yesterday by going up against NASCAR designers, which I found kind of funny. I don't know if you guys saw that yesterday, but the G2G Twitter account got into quite a war with some NASCAR designers. But they got Brennan Poole behind the wheel, and if they can just keep that truck together for 2 laps, there's no doubt in my mind Brennan Poole can get that truck in the show. Brennan Poole's an amazing qualifier. He's really, I would say he's kind of salvaged this season for G2G Racing. Really has shown that even a not very preppy truck can still get that in the show. So I think the 46 will be fine of making the show. So if we have both the 46, the 5, and the 84 qualify on time, which I think is very realistic, all 3 of those trucks are very quick, then the next truck to go home would actually be looks like the 43. And that truck, we know, with all due respect to Mason Maggio, the Rayom team have definitely shown this season that they have struggled for speed. Absolutely struggled for speed this season. They've kind of been the weaker of the 2 Rayom trucks. And if I was the 43 team, I would be a little bit concerned. Obviously, really rough stretch for Rayom as they had a double DNQ at Talladega. And, that gets me worried for them next year. Going to Daytona, it's not like they're going to have any more speed in those trucks. And unless the 33 and the 43 can really pull in some owner points towards the end of the season, I would say they're kind of looking for another double DNQ come Daytona next year. And again, that's no ill will to that team. They've worked their tails off. I got a lot of friends who work for Josh Rayom's team. It's just, at the end of the day, a low-budget organization, you can only do so much. So I hope that Rayom can get some more points, but right now it's not looking good for their organization going into next season. Whether they will have 2 trucks again, it was remain to be seen. We'll have, of course, they will confirmation that themselves. But yeah, that's the DNQ list we're pretty much looking at right now. The 43, again, all due respect to Mason Maggio, good friend of the show. He's been on the ARCA podcast, but he's just too much of a rookie. I don't see him cracking the top 31. So, Rayon, they're kind of banking on one of those other three trucks, the 46, the 5, and the 84 to see who goes home. But I genuinely think the 84, I believe, will have enough speed. Clay has raced Homestead many, many times. And even Tyler's also raced, like I said, I think he was there in 2019. So he's been around Homestead before as well. And the unfortunate part is with all of this, guys, for the second straight race, no qualifying on TV. And yeah, I understand production costs are higher than they've ever been. I understand that. I know Fox has been cutting costs this season. Sometimes the commentators aren't even at the track. And I think it's severely hurt the TV product of the Truck Series this season. And to me, it's just a shame. We're in the championship. We're in the championship part of the season for the Truck Series, and practice qualifying is not even on TV. And, and I even said, how are these smaller organizations supposed to sell sponsors? And I had some people argue with me about it. Like, I don't see why a 2-lap qualifying run would mean much to sponsors. I think they'd be shocked just how many teams rely on that qualifying time to get their sponsors noticed. They really do. They do rely on that qualifying time to get their sponsors noticed, because 95% of the time they will not be shown in the race. Could the 12 miss the show in the chat? No, Spencer's high enough in the points. He'll be fine. But yeah, it just sucks. It really sucks. We're in the championship part of the season, and you're telling me, and you're like, Fox Sports 2, there's nothing really on Fox Sports 2 that's relevant. With all due respect to Fox, I watch Fox Sports 2 sometimes. I really don't see anything relevant. I don't understand why we can't get practice and qualifying. You don't even have to show practice, fine. But at least show qualifying so all of the trucks that show up can get somewhat of TV time. Because, I'm not going to lie, it was really frustrating, just tracking Talladega qualifying and just by NASCAR.com standards. They didn't even stream it. They don't even stream it. Like, I remember back in 2019 for Truck Series qualifying at Talladega, they just streamed it live on their website. Even that would be better than nothing. I think we can agree that would be better than nothing. So that's really a shame. But if I had to give a DNQ pick, I'm actually going to pick the 43 of Maggio, because I do think the 84, the 5, and the 46 will all make the show on time. I do believe it. I also believe that we will see someone hit the wall in practice and not make a lap, because Homestead's kind of notorious for, kind of like a Darlington, hit the wall and keep going kind of track. Oh, dang, did I say 83? 84. 83, 84, dang it. 84 Greenfield. The 9 is safe. Daniel in the chat, the 9 of Blaine Perkins, he's safe. He's ahead of the 43, so he's safe. But I definitely think we'll have some people hit the wall in practice. Not like crash, just hit the wall. And that might knock them out of qualifying. So, again, it's going to be an interesting practice qualifying session. It just sucks that we won't get to see any of it. And unfortunately, we will have to just rely on NASCAR.com and PR for teams. NASCAR Fan 5, is the 20 safe? Yes. Stefan is safe. Stefan will get that truck in the show. Stefan's a beast. Stefan Parsons will be just fine. And, of course, for the bonus in the top 20, of course, in the Truck Series for points, Young's Motorsports is 19th. Henderson Motorsports actually holds 20th right now, but because they haven't been competing in all the races, they are ineligible. And Hill Motorsports actually holds the coveted 20th position, with Team DGR, the one truck, in 21st, only 18 points behind. But with 2 races left, Deegan and Hill have pretty much been running around each other all season. So it'll be definitely interesting to see how they will race each other this weekend. Timmy, of course, had with all of his experience at Homestead, I would expect the 56 to get a pretty decent finish. And even for Tyler, I think Tyler could also get that truck a good finish. Just key number 1, make the show. But if you want a DNQ pick, I am giving the 43 of Maggio. But of course, it all depends on if the 84, the 5, and the 46 can all make the show. So yeah, Yeah, and as for 2023, no real plans yet for the Truck Series. Not a lot of teams announced yet. Although I did hear that David Gillen Racing is expected to do an announcement in the next couple days, if not tomorrow. I would expect that as a change back to Toyota, and I expect that to be where Corey Heim lands next season. And I think that'd be a good fit. I think DGR going back to Toyota would be a lot better than going to a different team. I think DGR going back to Toyota in general will be better than their run with Ford. I think DGR's run with Ford, in my opinion, has just not really been well at all. They've won like literally no races. The 17 has been the dominant truck. So, yeah. So that's the Truck Series portion of Homestead. Again, a lot of great trucks added. For Backmarkers, definitely, like I said, guys like Timmy Hill, I expect him to succeed with how well he is at Homestead. Other Backmarkers, I don't know if you really consider them a Backmarker team. It's just kind of where the organization is. I do lump Henderson Motorsports into the Backmarkers because they have ran as Backmarkers a lot of their career. They're of the mindset of part-time to be competitive, or if they ran full-time to run 20th. And I'm glad that they've chosen the route they go, run part-time, but be competitive. So you can't really consider them a Backmarker. They got a great driver as well. I think the 75 will be one of the trucks to beat personally. Other Backmarkers I expect to have a good run. I would actually expect Kaz Gralla to have a good run in the 02. Stefan Parsons in the 20. I could see him getting a top 15 because he loves to rip the top. We know he loves that. Some that will struggle. I think Chad Chastain will struggle. Gutierrez, I'm just going to say he's going to struggle, mainly because he hasn't been there. But again, I love to be proven wrong, and I hope I am by him. And that's kind of it. Other than that, I think the Backmarkers, again, will not necessarily get top 10 finishes, but definitely expect to see quite a few Backmarkers that you wouldn't normally see in the top 15 this weekend. It all just depends on how pit stops go as well. But Homestead's one of my favorite tracks, and I'm definitely looking forward to that truck race. So as we move on from the Truck Series portion of the show, we go over to Xfinity portion of the show. Now, Las Vegas was a pretty good stretch for a lot of teams. Due to the Truck Series race not having any previous races, we can't really go over the results, but Xfinity will do a quick recap for Backmarkers of Las Vegas. Las Vegas was kind to some Backmarkers and not so kind to some other ones. To some Backmarkers that did well, I know it was a full SHR car effort, but shout out to Haley Deegan for running top 20 the entire race and really giving the 07 just an amazing finish, exactly what that team needed for the owner's points. Kyle Weatherman continues to just be an absolute beast in the 34 car for Jesse Iwuji, another top 15 finish. Jeremy Clemens, 15th as well, great run for him. Some other Backmarkers, Raja Caruth. I guess you can't really consider Tommy Joe's team a Backmarker team. Kind of more of a mid-pack. I don't really want to lump them into a Backmarker, but I guess you can because sometimes, their drivers aren't competing, for top 20s and they're more competing for top 25s. Raja ran 20th. Parker Retzlaff ran 21st. Stefan Parsons running 23rd was kind of surprising at Vegas. I would have expected him to run a little bit better. Chris Wright, arguably the best race he ran all season so far in the 68 of 24th. Garrett Smithley with a great run for BJ McLeod Motorsports in 25th. Kyle Segan, 26th. I think the 28 is actually going to run the rest of the season. They are on the entry list for this weekend as well. And I would also actually, no, they are not. I'm sorry. Actually, no, they are. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. Yes, they are. The 28 is going to run this race and more than likely will be at Phoenix as well to get Kyle some more experience in the car. I wouldn't be shocked for Phoenix, though, if they have Kyle move over to the 39 like they did last year and have Ryan drive the 28 just to ensure that the 28 makes the show. I could see that happening because, Las Vegas, the 28 team got very lucky. There was only 38 cars, and they didn't make a qualifying lap due to a mechanical issue. And had the 47, this is the part that I kind of feel bad for. Had the 47 Mike Harmon entry showed up to Las Vegas with Mike driving, they would have made the show. All they would have had to have done was make a qualifying lap. The 28 didn't run. They would have made the show. So that's actually, if you're Mike Harmon Racing, that's got to be a little frustrating. Had you shown up to Las Vegas and just made a qualifying lap, you would have made the show. Yeah, that's a little frustrating. And then, Jeffrey Earnhardt, Emerling Gay's team 27th, Ryan Vargas 20, kind of more of the backmarkers finished lower. Las Vegas is a really rough track for the backmarkers. You don't see many good runs for them. Vargas was 28th, Massey was 29th. Rough day for GGM. Man, I keep botching all my words tonight. DGM, 29th and 34th for DGM. I know Josh Williams had a speeding penalty, but man, that's still a rough run for them. Matt Mills down in 35th. JJ Ailey, man, for MBM, kind of just a story of their season. Running great, mechanical issue. Running top 20 before the engine gave out. So, as for this weekend's race at Homestead, we had 41 cars on the initial entry list. However, the 47 of Mike Harmon Racing has withdrawn. Unfortunately, with Brennan Poole being in the 6th car for JD Motorsports, that pretty much takes the best bullet that's in the group. Maybe they could have entered with Gray Galding, but the likelihood is they just would have had enough speed to beat that many cars on time. Some notable entries, of course, the 02 is TBA, was later updated to Parker Retzlaff once again in the 02. Brennan Poole is driving the 6 for JD Motorsports. Ryan Vargas will not be driving this weekend. Joe Graf Jr. is back in the 07 in a very, very awesome looking car. Kyle Weatherman is back in the 34 again. I actually would expect to see Jesse Iwuji drive at Phoenix. I know we want to see Kyle driving that car as much as possible, but I could actually see Jesse driving the car at Phoenix just as a nice send-off for the season. And I know asking yourself, well, wouldn't that be walking right into a DNQ? Well, with the great runs that the 34 has been getting lately and the possibility of another one this weekend, the 34 car has actually jumped up to 33rd in the points and is ahead of cars such as the 5, the 6, 78, and the 13, and the 47 as well. So they do have a slight cushion. If Jesse wanted to drive Phoenix, I think they would be safe. And I could see it just as a nice send-off for the season, Jesse driving the 34. But going back to the entry list, Patrick Emmerling is in the 35 this week. CJ McLaughlin is in the 38. I would expect him to probably finish the season in that car. Julia Landauer is back in the 44. Back for Alpha Prime. She drove the 45 at New Hampshire. She's now in the 44 this time. Stefan is still in the 45 for this weekend. Nick Sanchez is in the 48. I really, really hope that Nick Sanchez gets the 48 car next year. I think he's done very stellar in the starts that he has done, and I think he could really surprise some people. It's not like the 48's hurting for sponsorship. They pretty much sponsor themselves. Scott Borchetta has got more than enough money to sponsor that 48 car himself with the spiked coolers. So I really hope that Big Machine Racing takes the chance on Nick Sanchez. I don't think he'll win a race, but I definitely think he will give that team some amazing runs. And I think he could even make the playoffs. But I don't know if he'll get it. Either way, though, if they want a good choice for them, if they want a good full-time driver choice that won't wreck the car every week, Nick Sanchez is the guy, in my opinion. So continuing on, of course, we got Clemens, Gibbs, Yaley, Chris Wright still in the 68. The 77, the Bassett boys are back again. However, it's Dylan behind the wheel. Dylan Bassett will be in the 77. I don't believe Dylan has made any starts. I think it's been Ronnie that's been making all the starts this season. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, please. We also got, like I said, David Starr is still in the 08. Timmy Hill will be driving the 13 this weekend for MBM. Kyle Sieg, of course, in the 28. The 78 will be driven by BJ McLeod. Car is unsponsored again. And the 92 is back again this weekend with Alex LeBay as he's been able to find sponsorship. So we got 2 cars going home. Now, I will say it's pretty mixed. The owner points are quite close. It's kind of sad to see how much BJ's team has fallen this season. From 3 full-time cars at the beginning of the season with permanent drivers to now to just not running very good. And, Josh leaving, that hurt the team financially. And, Matt Mills, I think it's kind of went unnoticed this season, but Matt Mills has not ran as many races as he usually has. Last couple of years, he was full-time. But if you look at his counter this season for races run, it's not as many. And that leads me to believe, is Matt Mills done after this season? Does he go somewhere else? If so, what happens to BJ McLeod Motorsports at the end of the season? I don't know. And I don't want the team to fold. I'm not saying that at all, but definitely I would say of all the seasons of BJ McLeod Motorsports, it's been a rough one. It's definitely been a rough season for them. Kind of a little bit of a weird part. They still have Josh Williams' graphics on the 78 hauler. So that's kind of weird. I saw that at Kansas. The 78 graphics for Josh Williams are still on the BJ McLeod hauler. Man, that's got to hurt a little bit, having to drive that car. Dylan has failed to make any starts, and that's what I'm a little concerned about, man. Ronnie, has kind of been the guy to make the starts for that team. Now, Dylan has kind of struggled in qualifying, so it's kind of a tough task for them. 2 cars go home. Right now, the 2 lowest in owner points to enter would be the 77 and the 28. I do think Kyle Sieg will have plenty of speed to make the show. Same with Alex LeBay. The cars that I would say are in danger, I also think Timmy Hill, they got a sponsor this weekend. Very nice looking car of Generax generators. So plenty of speed. I'm sure they brought a great motor, the best they could at least. And Timmy will also be driving a Ford this week. So they'll have fresh tires as well. I think Timmy will be able to get the car in the show on time. So, that raises it up to, I would say, and honestly, I'd be concerned. I think BJ McLeod. I think he can go a lot faster than people think he can. But I would definitely be concerned if I was a 78 team. But I think BJ can actually get that car in the show. And if you want honest 2 DNQ picks, I will take the 77 and I will take the 5. Obviously, I think Brennan Poole will easily get that 6 car in the show, but I think BJ will get that 78 in the show. But I think the 5 of Matt Mills will actually be the second car to go home. Nothing against Matt Mills, but I think, again, there's the BJ McLeod equipment has just kind of fallen, man. And obviously I know they're trying to focus on the Cup team and prove that, they're really the only Cup team that are still building their own engines. BJ told me that at Kansas. That's one reason why, even the Rick Ware cars have taken over faster speeds than BJ. I could see BJ's team going again next year, but I definitely think they should stay to 1 full-time car and maybe a 1 part-time car. I wish Garrett Smithley could put the money together to run the whole Xfinity season again, because what he's been able to do in the BJ cars, I think, is actually quite remarkable. And I think it really shows that if Garrett Smithley got the chance to drive more than just a Rick Ware car in the Cup circuit, I think Garrett would actually shock quite a few people. Yes, JD Motorsports, they did confirm they will be running 3 cars again next year. Does that return of the 0? The 01. I hope the 01, because that's kind of been the mainstay number for JD Motorsports for all their inception. But yeah, those are my DNQ picks. The 78 and not the 78, my God. The 5 and the 77, Matt Mills and Dylan Bassett. As for the bonuses, though, it's getting hot. We got the top 30 10K weekly bonus. And with despite MBM's engine failure, they still managed to hold on to the 10K bonus for Homestead. By virtue of their finish at Las Vegas, the 35 team was back into the top 30 10K bonus. However, 28th and above have pretty much sealed the deal for this season for the top 30 10K bonus. It really is between cars around 29th to about 33rd in the points. Motorsports Business Management's 66 holds just a 3-point lead over the Emerling Gase Motorsports 35 car. Remember, the 66 is 29th. Emerling Gase is 30th at 355. 4 points behind, tied, are the 91 and the 08. SS Greenlight Racing and DGM Racing, they are out of the top 30 10K bonus. by just 4 points. Kyle Weatherman and the 34 of Jesse Uji Motorsports are out by 12. Everyone else behind them is too far back to gain anything in 2 races. So that shows you, man, that 10K weekly bonus, that goes a long way for tires, especially at a track like Homestead. So you're going to have a lot of teams really shooting after that 10K bonus, especially for Phoenix. You know, it's a long, long haul out to Phoenix, and having that 10K bonus can really help with travel costs. Now, that was the weekly bonus. We move on to the top 20 bonus, which is for full season cars only. You have to have attempted every race. For driver and owners, it is $80,000. Ooh, excuse me right there. It is $80,000 for the top 20 in driver points and the top 20 in owner points. Now, you might not think $80,000 is that much in retrospective, but for these Xfinity teams, it's a really nice bonus for the lower cars that can manage to get in there at the end of the season. And that in itself is a pretty contested battle right now. Right now, the last 3 cars in the top 20, 18th is the 26 of Sam Hunt Racing, but they are pretty well safe, well over 50 points from the cutoff line. The 19th place car is the 68 of Brandon Built Motorsports. The tough runs that Chris Wright has had has really dropped the team, unfortunately. And the 20th place, the coveted last place, is the 36 of DGM Racing, but their gap is a whopping 0 points. They are tied with the 0-2 entry of Our Motorsports. The 0-7 for SS Greenlight Racing, by virtue of the great run that Haley Deegan gave them, is only 1 point out of that top 20 bonus, and just 6 points back in 23rd is the 27 for Our Motorsports as well. Now, 24th, Jordan Anderson's team, they are behind by 21 points, so you could still lump them in, but it would really take 2 miracle runs by Myatt Snyder to get that car up there, and I just don't see it happening. I don't see it happening by Myatt. They just haven't shown the speed, and tracks like this are where Myatt, you could say, struggles. 31 has definitely been up and down the season for sure. So it's definitely contested, man. $80,000, man, that's a lot of money. And, you know, that Brandon Belt team, you know, they really can't afford any more bad runs with Chris Wright. And, you know, with all due respect to Chris Wright, you know, we'll see how he does this weekend, but they really cannot afford one more crash, because that 36 is right there. The 0-2 is right there. The 0-7 is right there. And even the 27 is right there. You literally have 19th through 23rd separated by just 31 points with 3 races to go. And, you know, 31 points might seem like a lot, but that can change very, very quickly, very quickly. And I think that's why they have Josh Williams in the 36 this weekend. But remember, Josh Williams actually failed to qualify for this race back in 2018. So Homestead has not always been kind to Josh Williams. And, you know, for DGM Racing, again, $80,000. That goes a long, long way for that organization. Same with Our Motorsports. I also hope that Our Motorsports condenses their cars next season, because running 3 cars this season has really, really hurt Our Motorsports in terms of competitiveness. The 0-2 car, ever since Moffitt left, I feel like the 0-2 car is just not been good. Jeb Burton hasn't done much. It's really been Alfredo Spaghetti Guy that's done the best. And we all love Alfredo Spaghetti Guy. Who doesn't love Anthony Alfredo? I love the guy. Who is not an Anthony Alfredo fan? Everybody's an Anthony Alfredo fan. And so he's really done the best this season. And in fact, right now, he's the only Our Motorsports car that's actually inside the top 20 bonus. So that shows you right there, he is the best one. But yeah, so I don't know if there's any rumors to Our condensing their cars. It actually was kind of cool. A little bit of a point I wanted to tell you guys. The 23 hauler for Our Motorsports is actually an old school 90s hauler. I thought that was kind of cool seeing that at Kansas. You know, even these big level teams still using haulers from the late 90s. I think that's just cool, because at the end of the day is, hey, as long as the rig works, let's use it. But I think it's always cool. The hauler stories like that are something I wish that would come out more. But yeah, if I was Dale Jr., I would have picked Alfredo. I don't know if I would go that very far, but I think Alfredo definitely deserves a better ride. I think, shoving him to that 38 car at Front Row Motorsports with no practice and qualifying mostly the season, I think it killed him. It really, really hurt his efforts. I think you get it because you noticed at tracks that Anthony was able to practice and qualify at, he actually ran decent. But at tracks where you just threw him in the car and went, he struggled. And that's why I did not like at all the no practice and qualifying stuff. And I still am advocate for more practice. I know we'll go through more tires, but I'm still the advocate for more practice. At least up it to 30 minutes, not 20. Up it to 30. But yeah, so that's the owner's battle. Now, again, also the top 20 in driver points as well. The top 20 in driver points as well from that race. Now, note how many full-time drivers that we had this season. Well, it actually varies around 20 full-time drivers. Now, obviously, at the beginning of this season, we had more than 20 full-time drivers scheduled. But obviously, of course, the top 20 in driver points get a bonus. I do believe you have to be competing in all of the races to get that bonus because right now, drivers Alex Labbe and Brett Moffitt actually hold 19th and 20th. Brandon Brown, who is not racing as well, he holds 16th. So I don't know if that eliminates them. Right now, the only driver behind them that's actually competed and attempted every race has been Bailey Curry. J.J. Yaley, by virtue of the withdrawn entry from Watkins Glen, voided that 80,000, I believe. I don't know if it counts. I don't think it does. But right now, I believe that would vault Bailey Curry into the top 20, though I could be wrong. But Bailey is only, in general, 31 points from passing Brett Moffitt. So I will think he'll be able to make up those 31 points in 3 races. Kind of bad to worse for Brandon Brown. He doesn't even get that 80,000 at the end of the year. Kind of the best of both worlds for Jeremy Clements Racing, too. That Daytona win did lock him in. So Jeremy Clements will get the $80,000 for both the drivers and owners bonus, which will definitely go a long way for that organization going into 2023 as well. So yeah, we picked our backmarker DNQs. The backmarkers that I think will shock people, definitely first off, Kyle Weatherman. I think Kyle Weatherman's going to put on another amazing performance. Brennan Poole. I think Brennan Poole, given the fact that this is a car that can actually finish the race, no disrespect to Mike Harmon, but a lot of mechanical failures. The 6 car is a car that can finish the race competitively, and I hope that Brennan will be able to shock a lot of people. Same with guys like Sanchez. Sanchez is a guy who loves to rip the top. Timmy Hill, I think Timmy, again, just like Timmy and J.J. Yaley, I'll say MBM could really have 2. It wouldn't shock me if MBM Motorsports had both cars in the top 25, top 20. Other cars, Jeremy Clements, he's always been good at Homestead. Let's see here. Bailey Curry, add Bailey as well. The backmarkers that I think will struggle, I would expect CJ. CJ is kind of always slow. Emmerling, mainly Patrick Emmerling, because he has never been there before. And, whenever Patrick drives, he kind of takes the extra safety approach to the car. Julia, as much as we all love Julia Landauer, I think she will struggle for speed. Not necessarily like off to the pace where she's going to get parked, but I don't expect top 25 speed. However, remember, back at New Hampshire, we all thought she was going to qualify last. She qualified, I think, in the top 30. So, who knows what kind of speed we're going to see from Julia, but this is the first time she's ever been there. I'm sure she's I-raced Homestead like 1,000 laps at this point. So maybe we'll see more speed from the 44 of Julia than we actually maybe expect. But the Xfinity series at Homestead always puts on a good show. No doubt about it. Can Noah Gragson finally get a win at Homestead? Well, not if David Starr can get in the way. Oh God, I still hate that moment from last year. David was on a top 15 run and poor Noah Gragson. I don't think that's going to happen this year, but hey, it's NASCAR. Anything can happen. But yeah, those are the bonuses for that circuit. Obviously, the bonuses are a lot closer. The underdogs fighting for that extra $10,000 weekly, and for the $80,000 end of year bonus, just a lot. At this point, can we not classify the 34 as a backmarker? Yeah, we can, because at the end of the day, they still are kind of a backmarker team. They don't have the best funding. They got decent sponsorship. But in terms of the parts they have, it really is, it's not the best. It's not the best equipment. Kyle Weatherman really is doing a lot with not the biggest organization that Jesse Wuji's team has. But yeah, so that's the Xfinity portion of the show. Now we move over to the Cup portion. Well, hang on a second, guys. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen a lot of criticism going towards Emerling Gase Motorsports. I don't really understand it. I always been a Joey Gase fan. Joey Gase, I don't understand the hate that he's had. Joey Gase to me is a solid driver who brings it home in one piece most of the time. He's a great plate racer. I don't really understand the hate that Emerling Gase Motorsports gets sometimes. I think it's a little bit unwarranted. Patrick Emerling is a great driver in its own right. And, it's their first season in general. So I definitely cut them a break. Definitely cut on a break. And hopefully that Emerling Gase will get some better runs next season. But now we transition into the final portion of the show, which is the Cup Series. Now, of course, at Las Vegas, Las Vegas was a rough race for a lot of the Cup, a lot of the lower tier Cup teams. The 15 of J.J. Ailey, despite his great qualifying run, out-qualifying two JGR cars, the 15 car unfortunately did not show the same speed in the race. At one point was over a second slower than everybody else on track. So clearly the car was running with something up. He ran just so slow all day. BJ just kind of doing his own thing out there. I think BJ could go faster in his Cup team. Again, you just kind of got to play it safe, and I understand that. Cody Ware actually ran a very, I would say for his standards, a very decent race, 27th. Corey LaJoie, the 1.5 milers are kind of where Spire doesn't really get the best runs out of their cars. 24th for Corey. Landon Castle, I felt bad for Landon Castle. He's done a great job this season in the 77 car, really getting the most out of it. Ran top 25 almost the entire race. Went a lap down early, but got the lap back. And unfortunately, something went through the radiator, which caused him to crash. So that kind of put an unfortunate end to that day. Spire Motorsports did announce a couple days ago that Ty Dillon will be driving the 77 full time. Not from a result standpoint, not sure how much it'll prove, but I think having one primary driver in the 77 will be more beneficial than having multiple drivers for sure. The only real backmarkers you could say that had good runs, and I don't even really consider it a good run, 19th for Michael McDowell, but I don't really consider that a good run. That's about an average run for that team. Stenhouse was 23rd. They've been struggling the last couple of races. So Las Vegas, not a real kind weekend to the backmarkers. Some of them did well, but majority of them struggled. Now, of course, the Cup bonuses, there's not many. There's only one real bonus out there, and that is the top 25 end of year $1 million bonus. So you talk about a big jump from bonuses. $80,000 in the Xfinity Series, $1 million for the top 25 Cup teams. And I think that's a fair point, man. For the top 25 Cup teams to be able to finish in the under points, $1 million is definitely a fair payout. And I will give a shout out to the 16 of Colleague Racing. At one point, the 16 of Colleague Racing, that car was down in 31st in the owner's points. And they have managed to climb back up from 31st up to 26th. They have a shot at this bonus. Now, notable teams that are out of the top 25 bonus and really have no chance of getting there, of course, Live Fast, no. Rick Ware, Spire, the 42 of Petty GMS, that car, so low. The Wood Brothers team, the 41 Stewart Haas car, and man, I tweeted out on Sunday, Cole Custer, man, He is so good in the Xfinity series, but man, it's just like the Cup car is just not made for him. I don't know what it is. You know, Cole's in his third season of full-time Cup, and he's just done nothing. I mean, you could call. I still call the win is a Mickey win for Kentucky. He just had a good restart. One of the coolest finishes we saw in 2020, but at the end of the day, he just got lucky. So I don't know. I don't know what the 41 team is up with them, but the 41 team, owner points wise, with 3 races to go, unless they pull off an absolute miracle, they will not get that $1 million bonus. And that's 2 years in a row. The 41 team did not get this bonus last year either. The 47 of JTG Doherty, they have fallen hard in the last couple races, down to 27th. And the 16 Colleague car, like I said earlier, is 26th. Despite the penalties that RFK and Front Row Motorsports have received, the 100-point penalties, they have both managed to climb themselves back into the top 25. The RFK 6 car currently holds 25th, a 40-point lead over Colleague Racing with 3 races to go. Now, I know 40 points, again, it sounds like a lot, but it's NASCAR. And with these next-gen cars, we've literally seen anything can happen. So I'm not saying by any means that Colleague, JTG, and I'll even say, I mean, you guys could say the 41. You never know what could happen. Front Row Motorsports is up to 23rd. The 23-11-23 car is 24th. The other RFK entry is up in 21st. So, yeah, that's kind of the Cup battle. There is a charter that could possibly be up for repossession this season. That is the 7 charter for Spire Motorsports. But it's kind of been a non-focused battle because obviously the 7 has more speed than the Rick Ware cars and the Live Fast car and the Spire's team car. And that's kind of reflects in the owner points over nearly a 100-point lead over 34th. So the 7 will easily keep its charter for this season. No need to worry about it. However, after this season is over, we could see some changes with the charter, with a charter going into 2024. Unless the 15 can get to the 77 car and pass it, the 15 charter for Rick Ware Racing, if they finish 34th or worse for this season in owner points, that would mean they use their second year for their 3-year repossession. And that would mean that if they do not finish inside the top 33 for next year's owner points, that charter for Rick Ware Racing will be repossessed by NASCAR, or more than likely repossessed by NASCAR, if not sold to another organization. So there's a possibility that come 2024, Rick Ware's Cup team could be down to 1 full-time car in 2024. Unless the 15 team can get into the top 33 next year. So, yeah. But I would believe if the 15, is not going to make it, I don't think we will ever see NASCAR repossess a charter. I think much less they will just sell it. I mean, why would you let NASCAR willingly repossess the charter when, $28 million they're going for? I mean, Rick Ware... Really, I mean, you said he was the smartest businessman in NASCAR. He held 4 charters. The amount of money that guy made selling 2 charters, what a smart guy. What a smart guy. But yeah, the 15 more than likely would get sold. Like I said, Junior, 23-11. They've been in talks about expanding their Cup teams. But I definitely agree. I'll definitely say this. If you need $30 million up front to start a Cup team in this day and age, that sucks. Even 10 years ago, you could start a pretty decent Cup team for just 10. $10 million in 2012, you could run like 20th in a Cup team. So I kind of hate that now you need pretty much just unbelievable money to start a Cup team. I hate that. I absolutely hate that. The days, the one thing that I personally hate about it the most, the days of a bunch of guys buying a race car and going down to Daytona, to try to make the Daytona 500 it's sadly over. That was one of my favorite parts about Speed Weeks and looking back in the days. Even as late as 2011, you had people, who would run Cup, once or twice a year, throw a car together, go down to Daytona and see if they could make the race. And unfortunately, with the next gen, you just can't. Even Carl Long is making more money renting out the next gen than he would running it. What does that tell you? He's making more money renting out the car. Smart guy, smart businessman. I do expect Carl to be at the Daytona 500, but I would say going forward, that's probably the only race we'll see MBM at. But yeah, I do agree. The 23, I will say this. It's clear that the 23 for 2311 Racing has not been showing the same amount of speed. Now, I'm not sure if it's Ty Gibbs, struggling in that car or what, but definitely the speed for the 23 has not been there ever since Ty kind of took over the car. So that's kind of interesting. The 45 has kind of been the main car. Obviously, we've seen what's happened this weekend. And I am willingly going to say I'm excited to see what John Hunter Nemechek can do. I think when you go to a track like Homestead, where John Hunter loves to rip the top, there's no doubt in my mind. I think John Hunter can win. I think we'll see John Hunter Nemechek and Noah Gragson competing for the win this weekend. It would not shock me if John Hunter Nemechek and Noah Gragson are the cars to beat for the Cup race. That'd be awesome. I mean, how awesome would that be? Seeing Noah Gragson and John Hunter Nemechek, they're not even full primary drivers, and they're out there running for the win. And that's why I'm just so excited for this weekend in general. And I firmly will say, Homestead, the next-gen cars, they will put on a show. I don't see why NASCAR would not go back to Homestead. Homestead will once again prove this weekend why it should never have left as the finale. I understand weather. They struggle with weather a lot down there, but the show that it puts on for the fans is just absolutely great. Phoenix has just not been one of my tracks. Just never has been. But yeah, so that's kind of the Cup race. Now for Backmarkers, kind of different in the Cup circuit when they're not as competitive. Yaley's in the 15 again. Obviously, Cody Ware's in the 51. I do believe Josh Bilicki in the 77 this weekend for Spire. If so, I wouldn't really then expect that much out of the 77 team. I would really say it is Landon Castle. It is Landon Castle in the 77 again. We haven't seen Josh Bilicki in a while. We have not seen much of Josh Bilicki in racing outside of maybe the Xfinity race. I don't think he ran the Xfinity race at the Roval. I'm not sure about that, but I hope Josh Bilicki's doing well. I think he just deserves more of a chance. We need to see him some better Xfinity equipment. Maybe Landon Castle. We know Landon Castle is good at these 1.5 milers where you rip the top. So maybe Spire can ink out a top 25 run, but I'm really not expecting much out of the Backmarkers in terms of the Cup race this weekend. And of course, no DNQs. We've seen mostly 36-car fields this season. However, a lot of people have criticized, only 36 cars this season. I do think we will see more cars in 2023. I think we'll see more 37, 38 car fields next season. Project 91 is expected to do more races. I think we'll see some other teams running extra cars. So I don't think we'll see as many 36 car fields next year. I think it's just, it's the first year at this car, teams getting their foot in the door and just trying to, get used to it. And then next year, get some more cars in their fleet to, be able to run a part-time entry. And of course, like I said, 2311 Racing with Kurt Busch. Hopefully they use number 97 Kurt Busch, hinting at a return to racing just on a part-time basis, which I think is better for him at this point. And we'll just have to see where that goes. Obviously, that's all next season, way down the line, and all we can do is wait. So, wow, man. What an episode, man. So that's kind of Homestead this weekend, guys. It's going to be a fun weekend of racing. And, yeah, it's just going to be something. The Cup race, Xfinity race, truck race, I think all of them are going to be very good. I think all are going to be very good. So yeah, we've reached that end part of the show. But before any of you guys leave, I want to tell you something real quick. We have reached 544 subs. Cannot thank you guys enough for that continued support. And I also want to say, you know, I have gotten a very cool item in my hands right here that I want to give back to you guys. One lucky subscriber. When we reach 1,000 subs, so we're only about, what, 446 away? It's not a lot to go. But when we reach that number 1,000, one lucky subscriber will be receiving this. This is an officially licensed Takuma Koga 2021 ARCA West Series diecast. This was given to me personally. Well, through the mail, but technically personally, by Takuma Koga's PR team as kind of like a birthday present. So kind of thank them for that. And it could be one of yours. All you have to do, the simple rules, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel and, you know, leave a like on the videos or leave a comment. You guys know what that is, but mostly subscribe to the channel. So, you know, like I said, good luck, guys. When we get to 1,000, we will do a live stream of 1,000, and we will definitely do, we will announce the giveaway live. So just my way of giving back to you guys for your continued support of this show and for staying with me tonight, you know, 56 minutes, and here you guys are with me. So can't thank you guys enough for your continued support. And I hope you guys enjoy Homestead just as much as I will this weekend. Is the weather supposed to be good? I haven't checked the weather. So if anyone in the chat could count me in on the weather, I think we're in for a good weekend of racing for sure. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Thursdays. Hope you enjoy the rest of your Fridays. And yeah, we will be doing live tweet updates for Homestead all weekend. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. I'm Colby Evans, starting Park Car, signing off, and we'll see y'all next week with another episode of Backmarker Battles. So long, guys.